So what is the goods order process in any organization? How are the goods ordered? Basically, everybody knows, the production department is responsible for making the production, for completing the production from raw materials to finished goods. But the production department needs the raw material so that they can convert it into finished goods. And where are those raw materials? So the production department will go to stores and will ask, hey, I need this required raw materials to produce this finished goods. Stores will check whether it is in quantity or not. It is there in, stored or not in the storage location. If it is not there, then the stores will go to the purchasing organization or the purchasing department and will ask them that we need these raw materials. So purchasing department will issue a purchase order. Now, purchase order, the T code is ME21N. We will see this in SAP. But right now, please understand the purchase order is issued by the purchasing department, which states this purchase order states what is the quantity of the goods which is required, what is the price at which it is required. So the purchase order is being issued to the vendor. Okay, now this is a request. This is an order. Okay, that we need these goods. No accounting entry gets generated when a purchase order is created. Okay. Fine. So once the purchase order is created, the next thing what happens, the goods are received. You have sent the purchase order to the vendor agrees to it, okay, that he is ready to supply the goods, and he sends the goods to you. And after sending the goods, he sends the invoice. Now, what is the difference that he has sent the goods to, then he is sending the invoice? Basically, just think if an invoice is received prior to the goods being received, and if you enter the invoice and then the goods come later, and if there is a discrepancy between the invoice and the goods, then what? You need to send the goods back and you also need to reverse the invoice, isn't it? So to avoid that, the procedure followed is you issue the purchase order to the vendor sends the goods to you, you receive the goods, you enter the goods in your books of accounts through MIGO, MIGO, and then finally you enter the invoice MIRO. This is called as invoice verification, goods-based invoice verification. Okay, fine. But just think, you have issued the purchase order, no accounting entry gets generated during the purchase order. Then the goods are received. When the goods are received, no invoice is received. So invoice is not received. That means vendor is still not there. Vendor has not yet sent the invoice. Only the goods are received. Okay. Now how this will be placed? There is no vendor at this moment. Only the goods are there. So there is a concept of GRIR clearing. GRIR clearing means goods receipts, invoice receipt clearing. Okay. We need to ensure that the goods received match to the invoice received. And that's why we create a reconciliation accounts called as GRIR clearing. Fine. Now what happens? The goods are received. Usually what entry you pass when the goods are received, the entry is raw materials account debited to vendor account. Whenever you purchase the good, raw materials account debited to vendor account. Okay. But in this case, the raw materials account are getting debited. But since the invoice is not yet received, so the GRIR clearing account is getting created. Instead of vendor, we credit the GRIR clearing account whenever the goods are received. Raw material account getting debited to GRIR clearing account. Then what happens when the invoice is received finally? Then the vendor comes into picture because the invoice is here. Then the GRIR clearing account which was created earlier, this gets debited with the same amount with which it has been created, and vendor gets credited. Finally, if you see the net of entry, GRIR account getting credit and debit gets nullified, and at the end the entry what is left is raw material account debited to vendor account. Okay, so the only thing is to reconcile the position between the goods receipt and the invoice received. You create a reconciliation account called as GRIR clearing account. Fine. At the level of goods receipt, the entry is raw materials account debited to GRIR clearing. Why GRIR clearing? Because vendor is still not into picture. And at the time of invoice receipt, this GRIR clearing gets debited and vendor account gets created. Fine. Okay. Now just think, you have issued a purchase order which says that I need 100 quantities at 10 rupees. Okay. For so and so raw material. Now, when the goods are received, it might happen that there is a difference in the number of quantity received. You ordered for 100, you received, let's say 98, or let's say if the quantity is equal, you ordered for 100, you received 100, but the price is you ordered for 10 at the rate of 10 per unit and you received it at 12 per unit. It might be the case, the price might get changed. There might be difference in quantity. The same thing can also happen at invoice receipt level. Let's say everything was good at purchase order and goods receipt were matching. But when the invoice was received, you saw some freight was added to the invoice. Then again, there is a price difference. So how do you deal with this price difference? That is called as tolerances. So we need to configure tolerances. Tolerance at 3 levels. One is at purchase order, second one at goods receipt, and third one is invoice receipt. Okay, so at 3 levels, we ensure that the tolerances are met. So let's see and understand how these tolerances are done at tolerance at purchase order, then at goods receipt, and at invoice receipt. So it will be under again SPRO, materials management, purchasing, and purchase order to set for purchase order. Okay, so let's go over there. We are into SPRO. In SPRO, you need to search for materials management. Within materials management, you have purchasing. Within purchasing, let's go into purchasing, and we will do within purchasing what you have. Okay, maintain purchasing, create purchase groups. No, 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 no. Let's scroll down. Okay, you have purchase order. Okay, within the purchase order, we need to set the variance. Now I have clicked on the purchase order. It shows set tolerance limit for price variance. Okay, so I will just click on this. Once you click on this, there are two different keys. Now you have the company code. First of all, select the standard. Standard company code over here is 1000. Okay, this one. Okay, now standard key, price, PE and SE. These two keys we need to select. PE is price variance, and there might also be some cash deduction or cash discount. So SE is uh, the cash discount variance. Fine. So both these needs to be selected. Copy this. Once you copy this, tolerance key will remain same. Price variance during the purchasing. You need to change your company code. ABB. I am changing my company. Fine. And then you can see you have the lower limit and upper limit mentioned for the tolerances limit as to what extent there can be a difference in the prices. 20% lower limit and 10% upper limit. Okay, it depends upon the business how you need to tolerances are maintained, and then copy this. Once you copy this, okay, then PE, for PE it was done. Now for SE also we need to change the company code. We selected two keys, isn't it? Select your company code. Okay, tolerance is already maintained. Now lower limit for cash discount is not maintained, upper limit for 10% definitely. And then we can copy this. Once you copied this, click on save, and you can see you have maintained the tolerance limit for purchase order. Purchase order price variance tolerance limit has been maintained. Now the second tolerance was for goods receipt. Even at goods receipt level, there might be some issues. It might be there, some differences might be there from the purchase order. It's goods receipt level. So again, we need to go to materials management, and within materials management, we need to go to inventory management. Okay, I will go to inventory management. Within inventory management, I will go to goods receipt, and at goods receipt, I will go to set tolerance limits. I'm again setting the tolerance limit. Now herein, there are three types of tolerances again. One is B1, B2, and BP. Okay, B1 is order price quantity variance. Whenever there is a quantity variance between order and price, do you need a error message, a warning message, or there is a moving average price variance? What is moving average price? We will understand in our further class. So right now, just go and select the standard one, 1000 company code. Okay, and then select these three, B1, B2, VP, and then just copy this and rename it to your own company code. Tolerances as required by the business will be maintained. Okay, enter. Then for B2, again select, because we selected three keys. Then also select for VP. Okay, just enter it. And now just save this. So we have also entered the tolerance for uh, at goods receipt level. So purchase order, goods receipt. What was the third level? It was the invoice level. And now the invoice will come. So at invoice level also there might be some difference. So where is the invoice? So I will again go to materials management. Within materials management, this is materials management. And now we need to go to logistics invoice verification. Within logistics invoice verification, you need to go to invoice block. Click on invoice block. And once you click on invoice block, you will see set tolerance limits. So now we are setting it invoice level also. So what is there at invoice level? Just go to position, select the company code 1000. Okay, once you select the company code 1000, then you need to select uh, form small differences to round up the small differences automatically. Price variance, there might be price variance, there might be date variance, and there might be moving average price variance. Okay, just select and copy this. Once you copy this, change it to your own company code for all the keys, whatever tolerance keys we have selected. Okay, just copy it to your own company code. Okay, an entry already exists. Okay, fine, no worries. For VP, it already exists. So, but the three keys are already copied, so that's fine, and we will just save this. Okay, great. So the tolerances have been defined at 3 different levels. The 3 different levels are maintained over here. It is purchase order level, goods receipt level, and invoice receipt level. The next thing is automatic status change. Now, what is automatic status change? See, the goods receipt is there, then the invoice receipt comes. So it's a status change in the invoice that the goods receipt are being matched with the invoice. So for that, the verification automatically takes place in the background. And that's why you need to check mark on the automatic status change so that there is a verification between the goods receipt and the invoice receipts. For that, you need to go to SPRO, materials management, logistics invoice verification in background. So let's go into SAP. In SPRO, we are into materials management, then logistics invoice verification. Then once you go to logistics invoice verification, come down. Let me just check once again. You go to logistics invoice verification in background, definitely. So that's the path. Okay. Let me come out of this invoice block. And here it is invoice verification background. And then you need to go to define automatic status change. What do you need to do? You just need to go and select your company code. Just check if it is there. Okay. If it is not there, then what do you need to do? You need to create new entries. Click on ABV, your company name, and then set correction indicator in invoice background. In background, the invoice verification can happen. Just click on save. So the data was saved and that's it. So the all required configuration from the goods order process, the tolerances process, and automatic status change has now been done. Now the next thing we will be discussing in our next class.